Alrighty, y'all, welcome. We are taking a look at what I think is going to be a very interesting video. This has been suggested, honestly, forever, and I'm finally getting to this. This is touching on some other videos I've done, covering some very interesting and stark differences between cars, especially like cars throughout Europe and cars throughout North America, specifically usually United States and sometimes even Canada. There's a lot more differences than you might think, and some of them are very odd. In this case, the North American cars being very odd because turn signals seem like a simple thing, but are actually very important, right? You turn your signal or indicator on if you're a good driver, when you're switching lanes, of course, when you're making a turn, it lets everyone know around you what you're doing. And it's very simple, yet very effective. And here we are. I've been told to look at this video quite a lot. This is from Technology Connections. I won't be looking at the whole thing, but if you want to watch this whole video, and definitely browse their channel, will be linked in the description down below. This video being the senseless ambiguity of North American turn signals. So I'm ready for this. Let's go ahead and check this out.
Turn signals. They're a good invention. Use them. Every motor vehicle legal for road use has to have a certain number of exterior lights and indicators to be considered roadworthy. This is practically a worldwide truth, and for good reason, to help inform the humans in control of other dangerous driving machines just what sort of action the vehicles around them are currently doing or are about to do.
Yeah.
Hopefully this helps avoid collisions, and it does. But there's one continent in particular, North America, that allows taillights that are proven to be a safety compromise that would seem bizarre to anyone living in Europe and which frustrate me to no end. What is that compromise? Well, let's take a look. This is a 2002 Honda Odyssey.
Nice.
It's a minivan, the most exciting and desirable class of vehicles available today.
Oh, the era that these took over the U.S. You'll have to tell me wherever you're watching from if there was ever a minivan dominance in your country or your area. These, thankfully, have gone by the wayside. Minivans are definitely out of style now. But I'd say from the early 90s till about 2012 or so, these dominated the roads. Honda Odysseys, Toyota Siennas, Dodge Grand Caravans, Plymouth Voyagers, Chrysler Town and Countries, the list goes on. Boy, oh boy, was it a boring era. In retrospect, minivans are actually pretty useful. They have a lot of room for passengers, a lot of cargo room with the seats folded down or taken out. They're useful vehicles, but they're not exactly what you dream of having in your garage.
This vehicle is following European taillight standards. Notice this red section of the taillight. This is the brake light, activated by the brake light switch on the brake pedal. And whenever it's lit, you know without a doubt that the driver is slowing down, at least barring a mechanical issue or a driver riding the brake. With the aid of the third brake light, there are...
Okay, so this is presumably... This guy is American then, right? He's either Canadian or from the United States. And this is presumably a Canadian or United States market vehicle. So this is kind of the odd man out. I'm beginning to see what this is going to be about. This is going to be about how turn signals can also be the brake light in the U.S., which is so bizarre. But this is an odd man out because this does have amber turn signals and red brake lights, which is more practical, more logical, but not the norm here.
Are a total of 3 indicators to tell drivers following the Odyssey that it is slowing down.
Yeah.
Now notice this amber section of the taillight. Whenever it's lit, you know that the driver is signaling for a turn.
That's right.
There is no ambiguity between these two signals.
Right.
Red always means stopping, and amber always means turning. This is a 2013 Chevrolet Volt. You may have immediately noticed the compromise here, but let's make it more clear. If I step on the brake pedal, 3 lights illuminate just like in the Odyssey. But if I hit the turn signal, now one of the brake lights has started flashing.
This is not how every vehicle is here. That's a wrong assumption. But certainly how I would say, without looking up stats, I would say easily 70%, maybe even 80% of vehicles here are like this. You have the 3 brake lights, okay, great. But then you turn on the signal, and this brake light, instantly out of the equation. Now it flashes as a turn signal, but it's not amber, it's red. And it's not the brake light anymore in that sequence either. Really weird.
There is no amber indicator of any kind on the rear of this vehicle. In North America, that's right, Canada too, the motor vehicle standards allow for red turn signals on the rear. But even worse, they allow for one indicator to share the function of both a brake light and a turn signal. To manufacturers who are continuing to use this lighting setup, I have 2 words: stop it. Now, if it's somehow not obvious that this is a safety compromise, let's go over the reasons why. Recall a statement I made 11 sentences ago. There is no ambiguity between these 2 signals. Red always means stopping, and amber always means turning. While there most certainly is signal ambiguity when it comes to this vehicle, for other drivers, the only way to discern the meaning of the signal is its behavior. A solid light indicates braking, and a flashing light indicates turning. Fair enough, but this creates far too many unclear and thus potentially dangerous situations. Say you're following a vehicle with a broken taillight. If it were the Volt, then every time the brake pedal is depressed, only one side would illuminate. To an American driver, this would appear as a turn signal until the point in which they have registered that it isn't flashing. In essence, its function is delayed for however long it takes the person behind you to realize that the left taillight is out. Granted, the third brake light, mandated for passenger vehicles in 1986, helps by only illuminating with the brake pedal, but then you have to rely on the driver knowing that. At a glance, this looks like a driver signaling for a right turn, which is not an ideal assumption to make.
If you're in heavy you're just kind of driving, you're in traffic, maybe it's hot out and like really sunny, so like, that can put a glare on things. You like, these things have to be a little more obvious. So I kind of get what he's saying, how this could be confused, because not everyone's total car people anyway. Not everyone knows like the mandates and laws and the difference between manufacturers and what they go for here. So this could be confusing to people. Why is there a flashing red brake light as a signal? It's so weird. I totally admit it. It is wrong. It should not be that way. It's just so much better and easier to have brake lights that are red and only solid, amber lights for turning signals that flash. That's it. Like, let's keep it easy here. What's this about? I can guarantee what it's about because I worked at an assembly plant. I worked for one of the big 3 manufacturers, and this is not throwing them down the drain here. All of them do it, by the way. They're all basically the same in this sense. I guarantee, and this is going to sound crazy, I guarantee the reason some manufacturers with most of their cars don't end up putting an amber turn signal on here and instead just go for, we're going to use the brake light as a turn signal too, is to save money. I'm not kidding. And how much money? We're talking pennies, of course. We're talking barely anything. But I guess to them, when this adds up to thousands and thousands and thousands of cars per year that they make and then sell, I guess it adds up. I don't know if it does or not. I think it sounds a little crazy. I think it sounds weird trading obvious safety enhancement for profit, but who the hell am I, right? I'm not running these companies. It seems to me like good old American big corporate mentality. That save money. Who cares about anything else?
Also, if you're on an angle and can only see one of the taillights, again, you can't get a clear picture of what's going on. If you're looking from this angle and the driver has their left turn signal on, then you couldn't see that they are stopping. This might be an uncommon problem, but imagine you're following this car through a left turn and you can't see the other taillight. With the left one flashing...
That's a good point. If they're at an angle, probably a rare occurrence, but if you're at the right angle and the sun and everything's kind of aligned here, they're hitting the brakes. If you're looking at this light as your point of reference, you're not going to see that they're braking. That's kind of scary, right?
It's up to you to see that the third brake light is lit. See the problem? Of course, if you have a brake light go out, now you've also lost a turn signal.
True.
Say on this car that the left tail light went out. Then every time I step on the brake, it will briefly look as though I've engaged my right turn signal since this light hasn't lit up. And even worse, if I am using the right turn signal, now this light can't function as a brake light, and the only way that will indicate that I'm slowing down is the third brake light. So with this light out and that light flashing, the only indicator that you're slowing down or stopping is the center high-mounted stop light. That's pretty dumb. Now for the Europeans out there, you might ask what this vehicle looks like with its hazards on. Let me show you. They look like this. Now, neither one of these lights can function as a brake light.
Yes, that's the thing too. I think I mentioned that earlier. If I didn't, I apologize, but that was in my head earlier, that the hazards also mess up everything. Now, these can't be used as brake lights. Oh, it's just a mess.
If I were driving around with my hazards on, the only indicator that I'm slowing down is the third brake light.
Right there.
I think it's for this reason that in Illinois and other states, I'm sure, you cannot drive with your hazards on. It's considered illegal. And this is a shame.
I wonder if this guy is in Illinois. That's funny. So am I.
Because there are plenty of reasons where you would want to do that, such as letting other drivers know that you're on a spare tire and warning them that you're driving slowly. But with this car, with the hazards on, 2/3 of its brake lights are no longer functional as brake lights. In the Odyssey, the hazards can be on and the brake lights work completely normally. But this
much better design. So without literally going out and showing, I did actually show this in a video. I'll link at the end if you missed it. Some of the differences between United States market cars and European cars. I actually did show some of my personal vehicles in that video. I have no idea where that footage is, so I'm not going to show it here. But basically, we have a GMC Yukon XL, so basically a Suburban, but the GMC version. And surprisingly, that big old American SUV does have this setup. It has brake lights that are red, and it has turning signals that are amber. They're totally separate. So they're like this Odyssey here. It's a much better and more logical setup. My wife has a newer Subaru SUV called the Subaru Ascent, and same deal. Brake lights, red, amber, turn signals. It's all good, right? It all makes sense. So that's pretty cool. I guess for North America, we have two cars that make sense. Admittedly, I have a Crown Victoria, and interestingly enough, some Crown Victorias actually did have amber turn signals and red brake lights. But mine being a former police car, it's all red. So it's red everything. So it's the, not preferred light setup. And I have a Saturn Vue SUV manual, and again, that one is red everything. There's no amber. So it's kind of lame, right? And then my old Chevy truck, same thing, red everything. So it's kind of all over the place here.
Now, there are plenty of vehicles here in the States that use red turn signals but use separate indicators. In fact, on this Odyssey from 1999 until 2001, the turn signals were a slightly lighter shade of red. That's better, but there's still ambiguity.
Yeah.
For a vehicle in Europe, red light always means braking. If you ever see red, you know you should slow down. But here in North America, that's right, Canada too, red could just mean turning. So long as this is allowed, we will always have to deal with signal ambiguity here in North America.
That's frustrating.
While I'm up on my high horse, let me say to you, car manufacturers in America, could you please just stop? Why do you continue to use this flawed design? Are you so concerned with saving a few dollars per car? Multiple studies have shown that there is a clear safety advantage to using amber turn signals.
It makes sense to me. That's really frustrating, and it's that way with a lot of stuff. It's that way with certain foods, with cars, with a lot of products. Unfortunately, big corporate companies in America, sorry to say, I mean, that's just tell the truth. They just don't care. They honestly couldn't care less about making all their cars have proper amber turn signals. They just don't care enough to do it.
Even without a study, it should seem obvious. Distinguishing function by color will always be faster than by whether it's flashing or not. My speculative answer as to why this continues to be a thing in North America is that car designers like the cleaner look of red-only taillights, and the general public just doesn't care enough. That second part seems clear.
See, I don't understand that clean look. I understand having a really cool looking car, right? I mean, I'm a car guy. Of course, really cool cars attract your attention and you find appreciation in them. Like, wow, that's a slick ride. That's really cool. I get that, but I don't understand, like, when you understand that certain things are part of a design, then it doesn't have to be cool, right? You could take some of the coolest cars you could ever sell here in the US. They wouldn't be less cool if they had an amber turn signal, in my opinion. I just don't understand that, right? I think Dodge Vipers were really cool. That's a beautiful, very, I guess, exotic for American standards, like exotic American car. And they're flashy. You notice them in person and they turn your head. You're like, wow, that is a crazy machine. And you know what? I honestly don't know. I think I want to lean towards, I think they might be all red turn signals, which is a shame if they are. But to be fair, that car, if it had a proper red brake lights and amber turn signal setup, would not be any less cool. So if they're doing this for aesthetics, from the car designer perspective, the whole red everything, that's a fail. I don't get that.
Clear. When the new Chevrolet Cruze hatchback was released, GM decided to put in amber turn signals. Saab Kyle 4's review of this car mentioned this, but only as an aside, in courtesy of those who might prefer it. It's not preference, people. It's safety.
It's safety,
It truly baffles me how little people care about this. And other times, the design seems to be there, but the function is killed. I was thrilled when I saw the design of the taillights on both the Chevy Cruze sedan and the Equinox. 2 white inserts. One of these is probably an amber turn signal. I thought, good going, GM, you fixed yourself. Nope, that one is a reverse light, and that one does nothing.
That one does nothing? Why? That's what I would have assumed. Because that's how it is in our Subaru. It's a clear lens when it's off. But then you turn it on, oh, it's all amber, right? And that's the turn signal, which makes sense. It's like this, basically. Why on earth would Chevy have this clear part that's not red, so going against the whole red out design, but then it's not even functional?
Although I would bet
that's
that
even
if
more
either
stupid.
of these cars is to be sold in Europe, you would indeed find an amber bulb behind them.
That's why. I bet these are world cars. I bet they sell the Equinox in a bunch of sister car designs across the world. Same with the Cruze. I'm pretty sure, actually very sure, the Cruze is a world car. I'm pretty sure they sell it in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, anywhere, right? And that's why it has that, right? Because in those countries, they have to have the amber signal there. But here, they're like, no, we'll keep the fixture so it has this clear insert. But screw the amber turn lights. We're still going to wire it to just flash the red. That pretty much sums up this video. I mean, let's get real.
Sure, your GM, Ford, and Chrysler products are most likely to use this turn signal brake light 2-for-1 combo.
Right.
But a surprising number of Volkswagen and Audi models do it too.
See? That's weird. I have noticed that. Of course, on some of those old videos, I saw the German manufacturers like Audis and Mercedes, they always had amber lights on the Euro models. But then in the U.S., they're all red. So it's not just, you can't just rip on the American cars for this. This is also, in basically any manufacturer, falls victim to this. I find it odd that they allow that to happen. So yeah, I'm going to end it there. There's a lot more to that video. I think that video is really interesting and kind of fun to watch. So I will link that down below. Make sure to check that whole thing out. And of course, browse that channel. That's an awesome channel as well. Just kind of the confusion of how North American surge signals are just not consistent. And they're really weird. And the ones that go for the all red, which seems to be most vehicles, is just kind of sloppy and lazy. And it doesn't make much sense from a safety perspective. Okay, so I might have been, real quick in closing, I might have been wrong about the Dodge Viper. At least these 90s ones, it looks like it had a brake light and a reverse light and turn signal combo here, which was indeed amber. That's kind of funny, actually. What about the newer ones? See, the newer ones, I think, is maybe I was right about, because it looks like we have a reverse light. And actually, are those reverse lights or are these reverse lights? Ooh, here. The turning signal looks like it's red, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm almost thinking that this is weird. It's a red and then it's got this white insert, but I think it lights up red, which is just bizarre. So I'm going to actually edit this photo and we're going to see how this would look. Okay, so obviously you can see, I don't know if you agree, but to me, this is a sexy car. I mean, Dodge Vipers are gorgeous. They're freaking awesome. But let's give this thing amber lights and pretend that they're amber, and then, of course, they light up amber, right? So we're going to do this. We're going to do sort of like an amber look there. Okay, perfect. Do it nice and small, kind of like that. Okay, so we're going to color these in amber. This is just going to be like a rough draft. I'm not going to do it perfect. Okay, so there they are. Colored in amber. I think that looks cool. Like, what do you guys think? Let me go full screen here. So there it is. We have a Dodge Viper with amber turn signals. Now imagine if all the North American cars, no matter how cool they were, had, you know, the European standard for turn signals, which would be amber no matter what. Amber for turn signal, red for brakes. There's your result. I think it's awesome. Anyway, it's kind of a funny issue, but it's something interesting to point out. And unfortunately, I think anytime soon won't really change here, at least in North America. So yeah, when we compare cars and standards and, you know, different specs between countries, it really does get fascinating because there's a lot more, you know, whether it's big or little details that are different and most people probably wouldn't think about or even know about. So I do appreciate the suggestions, and like I said, I have other videos kind of on, you know, similar topics to this. I'll try and link some at the end, so make sure to check those out. I do appreciate you being here and watching. I really cannot wait to see the comments on this one, so please feel free to weigh in on any of this. That's about it for this one. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker, and until next time, y'all, be careful out there. If you're driving in North America, as long as they're a good driver, it should be okay. I'll catch you later.